What would you do if you learned that a whole family vanished from a remote island, leaving behind only rumors of strange rituals and fear that still lingers almost a century later? On the rugged cliffs of Ilhéus Corvos, the ruins of the Caetano estate remain as a haunting reminder of one of the most unsettling cases in Portuguese colonial history. The stones seem to hold the silence of events the nearby villagers never dared to speak about. This is the tale of a family whose secret practices brought about their disappearance, nearly forgotten until a historian uncovered hidden documents in an old archive. It was 1933. While the world focused on economic hardship and political turmoil, a quiet but chilling mystery unfolded on a small island off the Portuguese coast. The morning of June 17th began like any other for Manuel C., a postal worker who delivered mail to the remote parts of Ilhéus Corvos, the island of ravens. Locals had long viewed the island with superstition, but nothing in its folklore prepared Manuel for what he would find at the Caetano estate. Approaching the grand house on the cliffs, he immediately sensed something wrong. The estate was silent. No workers, no smoke from the kitchen, no voices from the beach. The gate hung open, and the driveway was scattered with odd objects. A silk scarf, a broken pocket watch, a child's shattered doll. A strange line of salt crystals stretched from the house down toward the family's private cove. Manuel later told officials he called out but got no answer. He carried a letter requiring a signature, so he went to the door, which stood ajar. A strange smell drifted out, not decay, but a mix of burnt sugar and sea air. Inside, the scene grew even stranger. Furniture had been arranged in circles, mirrors were covered in black cloth, and the dining table was set for 8, though the family had only 6 members. The food was untouched but placed in unusual geometric patterns that looked like stars or flowers with too many petals. At the center of the room, a large book sat open on a pedestal, its pages filled with writing in Portuguese mixed with an unknown language. Manuel's discovery became the start of what locals later called the Caetano incident. Officially, the records were locked away for nearly 50 years under the label of a family matter of moral concern. He reported what he saw to the island's lone police officer, Sergeant Duarte Oliveira, who returned with him to the estate. What they found deepened the mystery. The book was gone, the table cleared, and wet footprints now marked the floors. But these prints were not from normal feet. They were elongated, with too many toes, as if twisted in shape. The investigation that followed revealed disturbing details, so troubling that many original documents were destroyed on orders from the regional governor, with only sealed duplicates kept in Lisbon. Those papers sat untouched until 2011, when historian Dr. Helena Carvalho found them while researching colonial family history. Instead of routine records and correspondence, she discovered detailed accounts of an investigation into practices so disturbing she first thought she was reading fiction, or the notes of a troubled official. The Caetano family first arrived on Ilhéus Corvos in 1875 when Portuguese businessman Mateus Caetano bought nearly a third of the island, including the entire eastern peninsula and its private cove. His fortune came from shipping and textiles on the mainland, but local records suggest he moved to the island after a scandal in Lisbon that no one would openly discuss. Mateus arrived with his wife Leonor, their 3 children, and Leonor's sister Constanza. Soon after, they built their mansion using workers from the mainland, none of whom stayed once the project was done. For the next 50 years, the family lived apart from the rest of the community. They were the wealthiest people on the island, controlling the local port and several businesses. Yet they rarely joined in public life and never let islanders into their home. Only a handful of servants ever worked inside, earning unusually high wages for both their service and their silence. When the investigation began after their disappearance, documents revealed repeated references to unnatural family practices dating back to their arrival. Former servants later gave clearer details. Maria Fanica, who had worked as a cook until 1929, recalled, "They worshipped something in the sea. Every full moon they went to the cove, every one of them, even the grandmother, without clothes, no matter how cold the water was. Sometimes I heard them singing in a language I didn't know. When they came back inside, they acted in ways no family should." Other employees gave similar accounts. One gardener, who insisted his name be kept secret, said he discovered odd changes near the cove. He claimed the family had built something underwater, an altar of black stones arranged in a circle, carved with strange symbols that made him uneasy to look at. Fish avoided the spot, and even the seabirds stayed away. When officials finally examined the cove themselves, they uncovered an underwater structure that stunned investigators. Municipal engineer Antonio Medeiros documented it in technical drawings, still kept in Lisbon's archives. The site consisted of precise stone circles with a central platform, carved with symbols unlike any known European writing. On that central platform, chained in place, were 3 objects. The first looked like a small preserved body, about a meter long, shaped like a woman but with unsettling differences in the face and limbs. The second was a metallic sphere that glowed faintly and shifted color when viewed from different angles. The third was a book bound in human skin, filled with hundreds of pages in the same unknown script found in the Caetano mansion, along with disturbing anatomical sketches. Unofficial letters later revealed details left out of the police reports. Sergeant Oliveira confessed in private correspondence that when the objects were removed, the stone platform beneath them felt warm to the touch, even under the cold sea. More disturbingly, he wrote that the platform seemed to rise and fall slowly, as if it were breathing. The case grew darker when locals who had seen the family in their final months were questioned. Teresa Dart, who delivered fish twice a week, recalled their appearance changing. Their skin seemed damp, their eyes larger with yellow-tinted whites, and the youngest daughter Mariana, only 16, had ridges along her neck that she tried to hide beneath scarves and high collars. When I once asked if the youngest daughter Mariana was sick, her mother gave me such a hateful stare that I never asked again. Later, investigators reviewing the family's financial records found evidence that the Caetanos had been purchasing large amounts of salt, formaldehyde, and other chemicals used for preservation. They had also imported glass tanks from Germany, along with equipment designed to control water temperature and salinity. None of these items were located in the house, leading to speculation they had been hidden elsewhere or destroyed. A more shocking discovery came when a false wall in the cellar revealed a hidden chamber that connected to a natural sea cave beneath the estate. According to Sergeant Oliveira's report, the chamber contained clear signs of biological experiments. Dozens of journals written by Mateos Caetano documented attempts to achieve permanent transformation through controlled breeding and chemical processes. Family trees traced their lineage back nearly 3 centuries, with some names marked by strange symbols. The journals also contained drawings of human figures with gradual changes, elongated fingers with webbing, altered rib cages, modified spines, and even restructured breathing systems that seemed intended for underwater life. Despite an exhaustive search of the island with help from mainland police and military personnel, the family themselves were never found. No bodies, no luggage, not even signs of escape. It was as if they had walked into the sea and vanished. That assumption seemed to gain disturbing support 7 months later when a fishing boat caught something unusual in its nets near the island. The official report described the catch as a human-like figure with aquatic features, webbed hands and feet, gill-like openings along the rib cage, and a face distorted but still recognizably human. Dental records confirmed it was Mariana Caetano. The body was taken to Lisbon for examination by government physician Dr. Miguel Santos. His report stated that the specimen showed signs of being caught mid-transformation between human and some unknown marine life. The skeletal and dental structures confirmed her identity, while the extent of the physical changes suggested both surgical intervention and genuine biological adaptation, something thought impossible in a single generation. Even more unsettling, Dr. Santos concluded that Mariana had been alive until shortly before her capture, and that she died from exposure to air rather than drowning. This discovery prompted fresh dives around the family's private cove. Using the best diving equipment available at the time, investigators searched the underwater structure more closely and made findings that were quickly classified as highly sensitive. Dr. Carvalho's later review of restricted files revealed what those divers had seen. Beneath the stone circles, a network of underwater chambers had been carved into the bedrock. These chambers contained living quarters with air pockets maintained by unknown means. Personal belongings of every Caetano family member were found there, along with equipment to continue their experiments. Most alarming were several glass tanks containing embryonic specimens, partly human, partly something else. Next to them were Matteos Caetano's continuing journals, the final entry written only 2 days before the estate was discovered abandoned. That last entry explained their intentions in chilling detail. The transformation continues as expected. Leonor and Constanza have developed a second respiratory system, and young Eduardo can now remain underwater for nearly 3 hours. The genetic material has merged with our own, though the process is painful. The last journal entry revealed the family's intentions. We have decided the time has come for the final phase. Tonight, under the dark moon, we will finish the ritual and give ourselves fully to the sea. Our earthly matters are settled. The servants have been dismissed with generous payment. Soon we will join our true ancestors beneath the waves, completing our transformation and honoring the pact made by my great-grandfather off the coast of Brazil in 1768. If these words are ever read, know that we go willingly. We are not the first to make this journey, and we will not be the last. Look to the water. We have always been there, watching and waiting for those brave enough to return. By 1935, the investigation was officially closed. Authorities declared that the Caetano family had likely died in a maritime accident involving their missing yacht. The estate was seized, the mansion left to decay, and the underwater structures were destroyed with explosives. The cove was declared off-limits for geological safety, and all official records were sealed. Investigators were ordered to silence, but the islanders continued to share their own version of events. Locals whispered of strange shapes seen swimming near the abandoned estate on moonless nights. Fishermen spoke of equipment failing near the eastern peninsula and of faint singing in unknown languages drifting from beneath the waves. In 1958, a geological survey team studying the island's volcanic formations reported sonar images of new underwater structures further offshore. A dive team was sent to investigate, but one diver never returned. His body was never recovered, and the project was quickly abandoned after the surviving divers claimed they had been watched by unseen intelligences. Dr. Carvalho's modern research into the case came to an abrupt end in 2014 when her access to restricted archives was revoked without explanation. Publishers refused her manuscript, citing ethical concerns, and she was warned to move on to other topics. In a rare interview before leaving academia, she admitted, "What disturbed me most was not the history itself, but the ongoing suppression of information nearly 80 years later. Someone does not want this story told. That makes me certain there is more to it than even I discovered." The most recent development came in 2020, when marine biologists cataloging Atlantic species near Ilhéus Corvos reported unusual genetic results. DNA tests revealed markers of human origin mixed with an unidentified marine species. The study was halted, and no findings were ever published. What makes the Caetano case so unsettling is not only their transformation but also the suggestion that they were not unique. Matteos Caetano's final words hinted at other families, other pacts, and a much older history. Records show that his great-grandfather Antonio Caetano, a ship's captain, vanished with his crew in 1768 off Brazil and returned months later as the only survivor. Though he claimed a fever had killed the others, witnesses said he looked different, changed somehow. He went on to build the family fortune, and later generations continued to show a fascination with the sea, funding expeditions and showing unusual behaviors such as a dislike of bright light and a preference for damp, cold conditions. Legally, the case faded quietly. Despite evidence of disturbing experiments, desecration of remains, and even a book bound in human skin, no charges were filed. Whether because the family was gone, or no longer human enough to stand trial, the truth of the Caetano legacy remains hidden beneath the waves.